us real briefly about yourself and what is Team World Vision? I've heard of World Vision, but what's Team World Vision?
Yeah, so Team World Vision is a ministry that is a part of World Vision that equips non-runners and people who are not fans of running to run, walk, or jog long-distance endurance races for the purpose of raising funds for clean water projects in Africa.
Okay, so for non-runners, all right? Anybody a non-runner? Yeah, quite a few of you. So this applies to you. This is good. Okay. And Brad, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get involved with these guys? I mean, do you work for them? And what brought you on this journey from? I mean, I'm presuming you were a non-runner at one point, maybe.
Yeah, people often say, "Well, you look like you're fast." Well, I'm sorry, I'm slow. Yeah, I was a definite non-runner. The way I got into this was after I reluctantly completed my first half marathon in a very slow pace. And when I say that, I'm very, very truly speaking, slow. My wife and I ran it together. I felt good at the end, and the guy who had kind of talked me into doing it the first time said, "How do you feel?" I said, I feel pretty good. He goes, "Well, I got another opportunity for you. I want you next year to run a race called a half Ironman triathlon with me." So I go, "Well, that sounds cool. What's a triathlon?" "Well, you swim, and then you bike, and then you run." I go, "Well, Michael, that sounds awesome, but I don't know how to swim, and I'm deathly afraid of water, and I don't own a bike, and I just ran my first ever half marathon." He's like, That's okay. You can do it." Okay. I'm running on endorphins. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. So I sign up for this race, and I go home, and about 6 months before the race, I'm talking to my wife, and she's like, "You should probably start training." Yeah, I should. So I have a friend who's a Division I swimmer and a swim coach at the school that I was teaching at the time. I said, "John, hey, can I come with you guys in the swim team to the pool today and just pick up some tips?" "Yeah, come on out, Brad. Are you training for something?" I go, "Yeah, I'm training for a half Ironman." "Half Ironman? Really? Have you run a triathlon before?" I was like, "No." "Okay, yeah, come out to the pool." So I come to the pool, and I can't make it back and forth any times. And I'm sinking. It's not good. I feel not good. I get out after about 20 minutes. I can barely breathe. And I'm like, "John, what do you think?" It's like, "I think you're going to drown." "You can't do this." "What do you mean I can't do this? I signed up for this race." And Brad, everything you do in the water is wrong. Look, here's my advice. If you think to do it, do the opposite. I don't know what to tell you. The water, if you think to do it, do the opposite of it. That's not helpful. So I call my friend Michael. "Michael, hey man, I can't do this race." "Really? Why?" "Well, my buddy John, who's a Division I swimmer, he says I can't swim." So Michael's kind of quiet on the phone. "Well, he's wrong." "Well, but he's not wrong." I was there. It was bad. He goes, "Okay, Brad, calm down. First of all, you owe me $220 for registration." "Oh no." He goes, "I want you to go to the bookstore, buy a book. It's called Total Immersion Swimming. I want you to take it to the pool 2 to 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks and do the first few drills in the water." So he's like, "I'm going to call you in 3 weeks. I'm going to ask you how it's going." Now, some of you can probably relate to this in a different way. You have an expert who tells you it's impossible. Right? You have an expert who's telling you can't do this. But then you have a peer who says, "I've been there. You can do it." You guys can probably relate to that in some way, shape, or form in your life. The 3 things that Michael did for me that day was he, first of all, told me that he believed that I could do it. So he just encouraged me, you can do this. The second thing is he equipped me specifically. Do this. Go get this book, take it to the pool, I'm going to call you in 3 weeks. Then he called me 3 weeks later. Okay? Accountability. So he did these 3 things for me, and what I saw over the course of the next 4 to 5 months was that I actually learned how to swim. Not very fast. I actually finished the race almost dead last, 5th from the end. They allow 8 hours for that event. It took me about 7:55. It's not an awesome race experience. But I did it, and that transformed me. And so since then, I've been on this journey with Team World Vision, and a few years later, I came on staff with them to tell people my story and recruit them to do the same thing.
I mean, that sounds good and everything, but I'm just telling you, we had a meeting set up this last week, and we both ride bicycles, and so I'm like, yeah, well, we should get together and we should bike. And it was Thursday, and Thursday it's rainy and cold, and I'm like looking at my phone thinking, I wonder if he'll just text me and cancel. Maybe choose a different day, choose to just go have coffee, and oh no, he shows up in his spandex and his bike at the church. I'm like, okay, I guess we're gonna go out biking. And I know at one point you weren't a runner or a swimmer or probably a biker, but I mean, come on, look at you. It's like sinew and energy and orange shoes. So it's needless to say, this is not for runners, but tell us a little bit about kind of that philosophy behind Team World Vision. Why is it that you guys are not looking for elite athletes, but actually looking for regular Joes like, the rest of us?
Yeah, we do want runners. So if you are a runner, there's 3 of you in here. We want you. But yeah, the biggest reason that we want people who don't run is because they're going to be transformed by this experience. And ultimately, they're going to encounter pain, and they're going to encounter some suffering. And then as a community, they're going to overcome that. In our world, we disenfranchise ourselves from pain and suffering, and people who are hurting. That's why we don't know how to deal with the disabled people in our culture. That's why we don't know how to deal with the elderly. That's why we don't know what to do with poverty on the other side of the world. And so by simply engaging in that and just intentionally saying, you know what, I'm just going to do this even though it hurts. And it's going to be hard. That ultimately we see incredible life transformation in people here. And so that's the big reason that we want to engage people who are interested in doing this, because for that very reason, they're going to be transformed by the experience. So, and I can tell you this, every year, we have people who can barely do the first day of training, which is 20 minutes, jogging for 2 minutes and walking for a minute. It's our first day of training. It starts in June, at the end of June. People who can barely do that, and every year they get to the finish line. So it's an incredible transformation for people, and I just want to invite everybody to join us to do that.
So you do half marathons, which is 13 miles, and marathons, which is 26.2 miles. And all of this goes to raise funds for what kind of projects and where? What does this all do?
Well, we find a unique kind of agreement between what it is that we're doing and the projects that we're raising funds for. This morning, this happened. A 12-year-old girl woke up, she picked up a jerry can, and she walked 2 miles to a dried up creek bed. She used her hand to dig a little hole until the base of the hole that she dug filled up with a little bit of water that was contaminated. She took a cup and she filled that jug until it weighed about 40 pounds. She tied a scarf around her head. She tied the other end to that jug, hung it down her back. She's 12, it weighed 40 pounds. And she walked 2 to 3 miles back to her house. We don't think that should happen.
12-year-old girl should not have to do that. She's going to do it today. She's going to do it tomorrow. By coming into community with her in her suffering, I can actually end her pain. And I can tell my friends in a more real way that they need to donate to me on behalf of her. Right? I can become a true advocate. An advocate is not a person who spreads a message. That's like our culture's view of what advocacy is. An advocate is a person who pleads on behalf of another for help. There's this girl's mother, right? I want to plead on behalf of this girl's mother to people to donate on my behalf and to run on her behalf. So those are the projects we're funding, and with $50 we can end that girl's journey for the rest of her life for $50. That's incredible. So why wouldn't we do it?
So this is primarily clean water projects, and I know some of you, if you're kind of in touch with the Covenant Church, our denomination has a partnership with World Vision, working in the Congo, the Central Republic of Congo in Africa, and there's actually water projects in the Congo, in Covenant partnership communities that Team World Vision is raising funds on behalf. So while it's not like a child sponsorship kind of a model, it's actually going to bigger picture kind of developmental needs within those communities. So I guess the last question is this: is like, where do I sign up? Like, what do I? Or if I don't want to sign up, but I am maybe just hearing that little voice that's saying, check this out a little bit. Like, where do I go?
Yeah, that little voice is probably really quiet for most people. It's like two voices you're hearing. There's like, don't do this! Right? And then there's another voice that's like, you can do this. You should consider doing this. So if you're hearing that today, if you're hearing that little tug, that little nudge, after the service, immediately after the service, for 10 minutes, I'm going to do an informational meeting right here in the sanctuary, right here. Just right here. So just come on down right after the service, and I'll give you the details. If you're afraid to come to the meeting, that's okay. Come anyway. It's okay if you're afraid to come to the meeting. Come anyway. Just hear what it is that we do and how we do it.
Let's give them a round of applause. Thanks.